Hello everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today we're back for another brand new video. Today's video, we are back at it ladies and gentlemen to break down and discuss the latest transfer news coming out of our football club. But before we go any further on with today's video and talk about two players that's going to hurt me right in the ticker, just need to take a brief second right at the start of today's video just to shout out the channel legends and the channel sponsors themselves. One Football, who not only changed their green logo ladies and gentlemen to a more appropriate colour for the nation, but also help the channel so much behind the scenes. So if you do want a free footballing app, the link for that is down there in the description below. But to business then, shall we? And as that deliciously clickbaity title says, we are here to talk about two Rangers players whose future is over at this football club. And we're going to start off with Greg Docherty, because if you caught our last video, which was the preview video for the St Johnstone game, we briefly mentioned it during that. But as I like to keep those preview / prediction videos relevant to the upcoming game, we're obviously there to discuss. We barely scratched by the surface on this transfer outlet. So let's dive deeper today and talk about Greg Docherty. Now, just in case you don't know anything about this subject and you didn't catch the St Johnstone preview video, what we know as I'm currently recording today's video is that Greg Docherty won't have any more loans from Rangers. The loans are done. Now, the gaffer confirmed then, as he went ahead and confirmed today, that Greg Docherty has numerous teams interested in acquiring his services, and actually went a wee bit step further today as well, as he's went ahead and confirmed that Hull City have been given permission to speak to Greg Docherty, and they're currently locked in talks. Now, as you can imagine, there's been no confirmation on a fee or anything like that regarding Greg Docherty. In fact, there's not even a sniff of what's actually going to take to get Greg Docherty from Rangers, but that's all we know so far. Hull City are talking to the laddie, and it's now on Greg Docherty on the decision he makes. So I think it's safe to assume we now have the answer to whether or not Greg Docherty would get another chance in a Rangers shirt after yet another impressive loan out from the football club. The answer to that question is no. Now again, as the gaffer said, the decision is down to Greg Docherty. It's his decision whether or not he signs for Hull City, but I just think the lad's stuck in, he's grinded and he's tried long enough, you know what I mean? He rejected a move out from Rangers last season at this point to stay in and graft and try and make it in a Rangers shirt, but for whatever reason, it's never ever happened. Which is a real shame in my opinion, because the fact that he was willing to spend the best part of the last 3 years grinding and working to try and make it so he can pull on that famous Rangers shirt says to me that he wanted to be here as badly as us Greg Docherty fans wanted him to be. But this is one of these cases I need to just take a step back and say I'll hold my hands up. I don't care anything that's going on behind the scenes, right? I'm just a fan who always gives my opinion, and I talk about it with you on this channel every other day. Now, what we've heard from Gerrard regarding training, it's not as if he's no grinding and working behind the scenes, because everything we've ever heard from Steven Gerrard, he's always praised Greg Docherty's professionalism, how hard he works. He's one of the first in, he's one of the last out. So it's no that, it might just be what he brings as a midfielder isn't a part of the plan and vision and what Gerrard wants from his two midfielders. Because it's funny when you think about how we set up and play as a team, because even this season when we're sort of flying out the traps, we still get frustrated about our midfield too for not being quick enough, for not getting enough shots off, for not getting forward enough and driving the team forward. But clearly they are doing what Steven Gerrard and the management and the coaching team want from their two midfielders, because that's why they're getting played and picked every single week. Maybe we aren't looking for a midfielder that's all go all the time. Maybe it is more what Glenn Kamara brings and what Jacko brings to the squad. Now again, I'm not sitting back here saying that Greg Docherty isn't good enough to go out there and do the job, but clearly there is something missing from what he brings as a midfielder to fit in this Rangers puzzle. Or he would be getting his chances, because the eye test and what he brings to every team he's out on loan, tick, tick and tick. Which actually perfectly transitions us into some numbers and stats, and having a look at his most recent season. Again, the appearances were limited because he spent the first 6 months rejecting moves out because he wanted to try and make it at Rangers. But when he eventually did get on loan in January, he was not too shabby Alonso, because in all competitions throughout the entire season he played 14 games in total, grabbing 3 goals and chipping in with a cheeky 8 assists, meaning he had 11 goal contributions in 14. And that right there perfectly explains why there's so many teams interested in acquiring the services Greg Docherty. Especially after his terrific loan, not only the one at Hibs that we just spoke about, but the season before with Shrewsbury, where he pretty much cleaned up in player awards at the end of the season and obviously won a hell of a lot of plaudits during their FA Cup run. But lastly, regarding Greg Docherty, as he is edging closer to his Rangers exit, he will be leaving Rangers having only played 19 games in all competitions and grabbing 6 assists during that time as well. So as it may be obvious to a lot of people watching today's video, I am very disappointed in that Greg Docherty will be leaving this football club, especially when I have a look around and look at our current midfield. Yes, some of them are better in my opinion, but you look elsewhere, a couple of them are getting a wee bit older now, who's losing a wee bit of the legs, and you think, Greg Docherty's energy, would that not be helpful in a couple of games? Clearly not, ladies and gentlemen, because that is why he's moving on. But when you actually think about it from the player perspective, it makes complete and utter sense, and this is a great opportunity, especially if it's going to a team like Hull who have a wee bit about them, who want to go places, being able to play week in and week out on a consistent basis. I think will just take his career to the next level and he'll start becoming the player that a lot of us hoped he would be. And yes, again, we don't know what the initial fee actually is, but I just hope and pray Ross Wilson does Ross Wilson things and slaps a wee cheeky sell-on fee on that bad boy, because I feel like when he does become that player we all hoped he could be, he's going to be worth a hell of a lot of moolah, and we might make more for that than what we will right now by selling him. But with that being said, that is the first player all wrapped up in a neat little bow. Now I just hand it over to you guys watching today's video, because I want to know your honest thoughts and opinions on Rangers selling Greg Docherty. And again, you didn't need to agree with me and say, oh, this and this, you like Greg Docherty. If you didn't think he's good enough, come out and say that. It's no about my opinion on this channel. It's never ever been about that. It's about the discussion and the debate, and 9 times out of 10 I'm wrong anyway, so aye, have in, ladies and gentlemen. Call me an idiot. And whilst you're hopefully getting your thoughts and opinions out there on Greg Docherty, we will move to the second part and the final part of today's video and speak about who was supposed to be the future captain at this football club. So obviously, Ross Mccrorie. And I'll be honest, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one, because the sky was the limit for Ross Mccrorie at this football club. And you heard what Gerrard said and how much he talked him up and what he said about the potential of this lad and where he could go. Again, future captain of this football club to where we are now. And that's despite Ross Mccrorie never really putting a foot wrong in a Rangers shirt. Again, feel free to disagree with that. But I think about that season under Steven Gerrard, where he came in, what was it, once every 3 weeks? I joked and everything on this channel saying he was like a Modern Warfare kill streak, because we had to win a couple of games, then we bring Ross in, he dominates and demolishes the midfield, wins us that battle, then he drops out again for 3-4 weeks, then comes back in for a big important game, usually versus Celtic. But despite those consistent performances, in my opinion, you know, he's never ever able to put down consistent playtime. That led us to where we found ourselves 12 months ago, where Ross Mccrorie wanted to leave the football club to get first team football, and that's when the loan was arranged, which to this day I'm still saying was a massive mistake on our part, especially when you saw how our midfield coped with some physical battles and tricky situations last season, where we just threw away silly points, where a couple of players, let's be brutally honest, they were bullied in the middle of the park and the game passed them right by. A big shithouse guy like Ross Mccrorie seemed perfect and worked perfectly in his first season under Steven Gerrard in those types of games. But again, that's all done and dusted now. And something else that's done and dusted is his loans out from the football club. As Steven Gerrard confirmed, again, there'd be no more loans for Ross either. So let's look back on his most recent loan away from Rangers then, shall we, where he went to Portsmouth, as we've already mentioned in today's video. And when you look at his time at Portsmouth, he played in every single position bar goalkeeper, which to me was ironic. And the reason I'm combining both of these players into the same video is because I have a lot of similarities and a lot of similar feelings on both of them, but where they separate, in my personal opinion, is how they done out on loan from Rangers. Because Greg Docherty, as we already said, tick, massive player of the year, absolutely sensational for every minute he was on the park for Hibs. But Ross Mccrorie, we have to say, it was very mixed. Some good, some bad, which I guess you could attribute to the fact that he was playing in so many different positions. I mean, one week he was playing at CDM, 3 days later in the next game they were playing at right back, next again week he was playing at left back. It was just such a weird loan for Ross Mccrorie. I think the best way to summarise Ross Mccrorie's time out on loan is he struggled for consistency on the park and on the team sheet, but still he managed to play 23 games and chipped in with a cheeky 5 assists as well. Now, as you know, if you are a regular viewer on this channel, coming into this pre-season, I had underlined and I had hoped both Greg Docherty and Ross Mccrorie would get a chance in and amongst the setup and would do enough to show everyone that they deserve to be here. But again, like we said with Greg Docherty, that hasn't happened, ladies and gentlemen, despite, I think, a very underrated and a very good performance versus Lyon when he came in and he played centre-back against Lyon's first team and best players. I thought that entire youthful back line was absolutely excellent. I know Bassey won a lot of plaudits, I know young Mayo won a lot of plaudits, and I know Patterson, who we all love, won a lot of plaudits, but Ross Mccrorie was right there on level with them all, in my personal opinion. But that performance wasn't enough to get him in and amongst the starting 11 for the start of the season, and where we find ourselves now, Steven Gerrard has confirmed that Ross Mccrorie has asked to leave the club, which I think makes it a bit clearer to why this hasn't worked, because you even saw from Steven Gerrard's body language and the way he talked, but he is slightly disappointed that Ross Mccrorie isn't want to stay here and has asked to go. I don't know, maybe I'm just reading into that too much, but it just looked like he wasn't exactly buzzing to actually say that. And because Ross Mccrorie has asked to leave the football club, Hibs fans are absolutely licking their lips rotten right now at the prospect of getting him. And the reason they are doing that is because we're seeing the prices that's getting flung around. They've already bid once for him, confirmed, at £200,000, which I didn't care why Rangers even responded to it. They should have just laughed at out the building. But as Gerrard said again in today's presser, there has been a second bid from Hibs and apparently it's closer. So this one looks like it's only a matter of time as well before Ross Mccrorie is eventually a Hibs player. And what we just said about Greg Docherty, by the way, about getting some sell-on fee, I hope to God we're doing it again. And I truly believe Ross Wilson's got it up here because everything he's done so far has been absolutely sensational. So I'm sure when we see these fees for these two players, it's going to be a bit of a shock, but I'm sure there's going to be a hefty sell-on fee included in both, because that is what Ross Wilson does. But to finish the video off properly, let's recap Ross Mccrorie's time at Rangers, as it looks like it is edging closer and closer to being over. He will leave at the age of 22 years old, having played 55 games. No, I'm no kidding. Absolutely sensational planning for Steven Gerrard. He knows what he was doing, ladies and gentlemen. We game here, get him up to 55, then get him out the door on the season. We go ahead and win 55. Oh my God, if I couldn't love Steven Gerrard even more, he started playing human chess, people. It's unreal. But all joking and that aside, in those 55 appearances for Rangers, he chipped in with 1 goal and grabbed cheeky 2 assists during that time. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is everything regarding Rangers we will be discussing in today's video. If you haven't done so already, get your thoughts and opinions out there on Greg Docherty and former future captain at Rangers Football Club Ross Mccrorie, both lining and edging closer to leaving. But before we finish up today's video, I just need to give a thank you from me to thee for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for the preview on that plastic park of the Tony Macaroni. Take care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching, and bye.